Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio. Elevate your franchise with Franchise Now. We tell your brand story on our radio podcast and boost it with powerful content marketing strategies. From blogs and videos to infographics and more, we enhance your brand's SEO and online visibility. Let Franchise Now help your franchise stand out in a crowded market. Visit us today and learn more to start your journey for greater visibility and success. And now, here's your host.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley. We're the podcast that brings you insights in franchise marketing, the latest stories and strategies from the world of franchising. And today's no different. I've got a guest with me. He's an innovator in the field of property preservation. Goes a lot further than that. These guys have really deep and wide visions, but I just love the way they are approaching this market. But they have a keen focus on the health and longevity of homes and businesses, which are near and dear to all of our hearts. Please welcome with me, Ty McBride. He's the CEO and founder of Preservan. Ty, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. It's just so cool to be here.
Yeah. No, I love talking franchise models. I think there's so much in that. Because when you talk about a business model, you talk about every aspect of business, which gets into some cool things. You're always solving a new problem, always using, and I am a technology guy, and I love most of my life. I've seen it, and I love how businesses apply it. I always thought franchising were not just in tech, but in everything, innovators in their areas. So I'd love to hear, tell us a little bit about the brand. But before you get into the unique description of the brand, tell us how you got here. Like what went into your decision to become a franchisor? Crazy. It's a crazy decision, right?
Yeah, right. How much time do you have? This could take a minute. No, so I've been in the home service business almost my entire adult life. My grandfather was a home builder. And so I got my first, some of my first jobs cleaning up construction sites. Being here in Oklahoma, that meant cleaning up sites after tornadoes and stuff like that. And so that's where I got my start. And kind of the journey is, it seems like it makes sense looking backwards, but, you just kind of go with the flow as you're starting out as in your career and your entrepreneurial journey. And so for me, I got in through my family's companies into restoration, which led into historic preservation. And that was really, I struck out on my own. It was something I really just had a passion for. I love the idea, growing up with my grandfather as a home builder, I loved the idea of saving the houses that my grandfather built. Of course, he didn't save historic homes, right? But one day what he built was going to be historic. And so I loved the idea of saving those types of buildings. And so I left the family business and I struck out on my own, restoring old houses, old buildings, specifically wood windows and wood doors. And it was just this really cool journey. But then, and our business grew, it thrived. And we actually built a contracting business, myself, my business partner. We built a contracting business that really was regional. We were operating in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri. So we were kind of doing residential and commercial projects on a regional area. And then COVID happened. And, we kept going and we made it through it. The business still exists and thrives today, that original construction business, which is not what we're talking about here today, but it's still, but during that COVID period, I don't know if anybody else was like this, but myself and my business partner started thinking about life a different way, started thinking about work a different way. And we're like, okay, this is good, but we were kind of tired of all of the big regional thing. And so we started whiteboarding. What if we picked some of the coolest elements of our historic preservation business and we turned it into a home service model, and then we grew it outside of that historic preservation. So it's like, if we could take these principles that we believe that it's better to repair, that it is that the greenest thing is the one that's already built. If we could take those principles and we could grow them outside of historic and grow them to like everyday houses, what would that look like? And we started to whiteboard it. And that is kind of where this was born out of, this service. And so we rolled it out in mid 2021. It was always something we had a lot of experience in. And in truth, we kind of began with the end in mind. I don't know if a lot of people do this, but we kind of started this service with the idea that we wanted to grow it on a national level. And franchising seemed like a really great, viable option to do that.
Wow. I love that. One of the things you said that I think a lot of you start with the end in mind is obvious, a great idea for anything you're trying to do in life. Because if you're clear about what you want, then you're going to ponder it a lot. And I believe that helps. But if you're not clear, then you can't be thinking clear about what it is you should be. But you also said something else about connected two things. The idea of beautifying or alchemy of a historic thing. I think most of us appreciate this. I mean, so many tourist attractions have to do with that idea of seeing beautiful things that are older. Certainly, we all like to restore houses and remodel. And so conceptually, pretty much every person that has a home probably is someone who thinks this way. And then you guys kind of connected this need of aging homes through many housing booms, lots of homes out there the last 50 years. And this idea that you're probably seeing all these issues, right, with wood and with the beautiful homes that they were in the 80s and 90s and maybe, maybe even the 2000s now, some of those homes.
Yeah.
And, and so now it applies to everyone. So one of the principles of any great business is you have something unique, but it applies to a big market.
Yeah.
And there will be demand. That's hard to find sometimes because now you could be okay with being a me too if you're better at sales and marketing. Yeah. But if you can find something that is like that, but isn't a me too and is unique, that now you're thinking like a franchisor. I like that.
Yeah.
So tell us more about the brand now. So what makes the unique qualities of your model, your franchise model, unique? Obviously, you want a model that can scale, that can grow and be successful for a local business owner, for you guys to have a network of that, right? So tell me what went into that thinking. How did you build this model with that in mind?
Yeah, well, one of the things that always comes to mind is you want to be an inch wide and a mile deep, right? And so that's how you want to build a really great service brand. And so what all of this research that we had over years of operating our other businesses and serving and repairing and maintaining all these older homes showed us that the most common issue that we faced in Oklahoma was wood rot, termites, and other damage to wood elements of a house. And then growing up as a grandson of a home builder, I know that wood is what makes a house beautiful. The most expensive, most beautiful houses are the ones typically with the most wood on them. And that being whether it's wood windows, wood doors, pergolas, decks, shutters, all those really beautiful wood features that make something timeless and beautiful. And so we're like, okay, wood is rotting or termites eating. It's a fact of life. It's like literally growing on trees. It is what makes the house the most beautiful. It's also kind of a pain in the neck to repair. And then the piece to that really kind of like brought this together is in doing historic preservation work. What you learn is that you can't ever replace anything, right? Because there's tax credits involved and regulations involved. And so since the early 70s, the National Park Service had been recommending an epoxies to repair the wood rot and recommending them to the point that they've been used on some of our nation's, landmarks and some of our most prestigious buildings and homes. Thomas Jefferson's Monticello, George Washington's Mount Vernon, the Statue of Liberty, and countless other buildings. And so it's like we were kind of an expert in that. So we're an expert in epoxy repair, wood's on every single house, lots of data and research to say that this is a proven method for historic. So why not use it for everyday houses? And we just kind of put those things together around a really great education model to make sure we could recruit and retain labor to be epoxy technicians because, you just can't go, it's hard enough to hire anybody in the trades this day and age, let alone coming up with a whole new service.
Right. So tell me about that process. I think it's a proprietary approach. So you just said that you have to train and certify these folks. And so tell me a little bit about that, your approach to that. Obviously, you're connecting it with this. I'm jumping ahead a little. I'm going to just assume. I'll assume things, but I'm assuming that in order to be careful about how you approach things, so you maximize if there is a historic type of scenario someday to preserve, that you do it the right way now, like you don't mess it up in the future. So that's one part that it has to be done right, applied right, with epoxy. And so, but then you also probably have this process that goes into not only you train them, but now you've got to deploy and execute this with each customer so that they get the maximum value. Probably care about, hey, what they told me I get for the price they told me they get it at and the time frame. So you got to pay attention to the basic customer service. So tell me a little bit about how all this went into this new service. Like how do you create that and make it what it needs to be?
Yeah. So I'll tell another brief story here. So this is kind of when this kind of like my business partner and I were like the aha, like this is it. So we were on a major window restoration project at the historic Fort Riley Army post where Custer was originally stationed, and we were restoring the 300 historic wood windows there. And this is early COVID, and our material suppliers were completely out of lumber. And the Army Corps of Engineers and the general contractor came to us and said, we understand that you don't have access to the lumber, but do you have any other way to help us finish this project so we can, it was going to be a VA call center. Like, do you have any other way to help us finish this project in a way that would get the VA call center open on schedule and not be delayed by this material shortage? And that was when myself and my business partner were like, yeah, I think we do. Here's this method we use. And so we went through this extensive process. And also we had limitations because we had to figure out a way to train a bunch of new labor to do this, because we were going to have to staff this job with a couple of dozen people that were going to do this service so we could get it done. And so my business partner and I kind of dug into the research behind using epoxy to repair wood. And we developed a whole process. We had to submit to the Army Corps of Engineers and a general contractor and the historic preservation officer at Fort Riley, Kansas. So we had to put all this stuff together. So highly researched, built out a whole training program, a training manual, if you will. And then I stood there in the frigid air in a February, I think, February 21, just like jittering cold there in the plains of Kansas, and taught a bunch of people how to do this. And the cool thing is we were able then to do it with temporary labor. So it was such a really cool thing that once we had nailed down the training process, we could really scale up and get this project done and really accomplish some pretty big things. And so for us, it started with the data, it started with the science, and it started with test and measure, because we had to stand behind this. And then it started by proving it out. I don't know, most of your listeners probably ever do this, but trying to get something approved by the Army Corps of Engineers and a national park service person is not an easy thing. And so when we had that done, it was like, whoa, we just wrote the training manual. We just did some videos. We just have proven it. Let's take this thing and grow it. And so that was kind of how we got to that point. And from then it was more about just refining it, making it more accessible, and then using the building I'm at here today, kind of our training headquarters here in Oklahoma, to build out a way to bring people in and train them, and to build out videos and additional content to help our franchisees train all the people they're going to bring in to be epoxy techs in their local setting.
Wow. I don't think I've heard that yet. I've got a great tagline for the podcast. It's like, I started a franchise to meet a deadline.
Yeah, right.
So I was listening to you describe that, and I'm like, you were doing all the things you would have been told to do if you
Right.
had built a business ahead of time, like, oh yeah, let's just go and help a couple homes. Next thing you know, you got 100 customers and maybe a couple techs, and then you say, well, maybe we'll be a franchise. In your case, you were just doing another project, had to meet a deadline, so you had to do all this training and recruiting and process building, and you had all these people that had to eyeball it, that which is unusual for a process evaluation. So how about all that? So yeah, you were in the perfect situation.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
and all the while I had a drive. So OKC to Fort Riley, Kansas is about 4.5 hours. And so I would have to make this drive like multiple times a week. So all the while I've got like 9 hours to like just like go all in on basically every audiobook that had anything to do with franchising I listened to during
Right.
that time period. Every single like franchise attorney and franchise professional that had a podcast. I was just like consuming everything that I could. I was learning about what a great item 19 looks like, and how to build a great operations manual and the different things like, so I was just consuming this information, no kidding, like 10 to 20 hours a week on these drives. I was just learning. I was getting education in franchising, and then just brainstorming how we were going to do that.
Yeah, how about that? What a cool way to get into it. And so, all right. So, tell me a little bit about like this approach. Is there any technology involved? Like, what tell? And I know part of the story, other than beautifying things and preserving things at a reasonable cost. Um, Tell me a little bit about the. I think there's some green benefits, right? Sustainability benefits, but tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
the technology and the process that goes into all this and some of the benefits.
Yeah, so I'll speak to the technology of the product first, because I always say we're a technology company, but we're a building science technology company
Right.
first, and then of course we use all the other modern technologies to build efficiencies in our business. But uh, the basics of the technology of the product, and like I said, it's been widely proven to be a successful way to preserve and repair wood, is what we can do is when something is rotting or deteriorating, we can go in and we can remove the deteriorated wood. We can drill holes and we can inject an epoxy that hardens up and consolidates the wood. We can then also, when we inject a rod that then kills any future fungus or termites. And then we teach our franchisees, and this is kind of a bit of the secret sauce. We teach them then how to use a moldable epoxy clay to recreate any design, anything from something that is 100 years old that nobody is making anymore to something that is that a manufacturer doesn't want to sell you, like a wood window or door manufacturer doesn't want to sell you because they want you to buy a new window or door. They don't want you to fix it. So we teach or recreate any kind of texture. And so we teach our franchisees how to do that using a number of different resins and epoxy technologies. And so that is really kind of the key component. We are a technology company in that way. The benefit here, definitely the environmental benefit, as I said earlier, the greenest building is the one that's already built, right? And so, I talk about environmental impact. I don't mean it in like a hippy dippy way, but it's cool if you want to take it that way. I mean it as in kind of like good old common sense that definitely my grandparents and my great grandparents taught me coming out of the Great Depression, right? Which is keep what you have and make it last longer. And don't just throw things away in the landfill because you don't know how to get it fixed. And that's kind of where we come in, is we actually understand how to fix these things, and we have a technology that makes it cost effective. So I think anytime you can line up positive environmental impact with cost savings, you're actually doing good, meaningful work. Because I'm not a huge fan of positive environmental impact and pay a ton extra for it. Because that's, what do they call that? They call that greenwashing, where you just like say it's green and then you charge somebody extra. No, like this is one of those things where green makes sense. Keeping something longer, I get my shoes resold, that kind of thing. So that's the positive environmental impact. So it makes it easy for someone to say yes. And like, goodness, You're not going to throw it away in the landfill. I don't have to replace it. There's all kinds of positive impacts on that, from carbon footprint to like I said, the landfill stuff. Then it's also going to be about 90% less than the replacement cost. So I can get my, if I have a whole house of windows, it was going to be 40,000. I could get them all repaired while still maintaining my property value for less than 4,000. And it's going to be convenient. Most of our jobs are done in less than 24 hours. So it's like, it just kind of hits all those points that I think the modern homeowner is looking for.
It totally does. And it also changes, I think, what you might consider doing in the first place, right? Like a lot of people make decisions on beautifying their home or fixing something or, correcting something they're thinking about, but thinking of it in a different way. Like, it'll take longer, it costs more, it'll be a bigger project. Whereas with this, it feels like, well, now, you can look at it differently. Like, knock all that out now, hit that, hit this, and it's done quickly and affordably. And you've got the other benefits we just mentioned. You're making things last longer. No need to destroy all of it, replace all of it when you can, beautify it and fix it cheaper and faster. Common sense. You're right.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I talk to our franchisees, and most of them get it, right? What I always explain to them is when and our ideal client, we call them neighbors. We don't have customers, we have neighbors, but our ideal neighbor is somebody, typically their house is on a lake, a gate, a golf course, in a nice subdivision housing. Generally when somebody buys that house, they love the way it looks on the exterior. Yeah. That's the way you buy it because of curb appeal. And you don't want to make a whole lot of changes to the exterior of your house when you buy it. And so when a contractor comes around and says, hey, new windows or new doors are going to be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, nobody really wants to spend that money. It's like putting new tires on your car. You don't really want to do it. You'll do it if you absolutely have to. And you definitely don't want to go into debt for it, regardless of what kind of special interest rates a company is currently offering. What you do want to do is you want to take that $40,000, $50,000 and you want to do what with it? You want to add it to the kitchen rental budget. You want to update the master bath. You want to do a pool or a deck in the backyard. Those are the things where people want to spend their money, not on new windows and doors and columns. They like them as they are. They just want them fixed. And so it just aligns with the homeowner's, financial goals as well, to say, hey, save you a ton of money, take all of that you're saving and put it to things that you really want to do on your house, like get new countertops in the kitchen.
And well, exactly. So you're hitting on the business side of my mind, like where I'm thinking, okay, I own a home and it's a beautiful home, and I'm thinking like a homeowner, right? That has this gorgeous thing that they love, but they also think of it like, I don't want it to not be preserved. Someday I might sell it. And it's gonna look good, and so it feels good to say, I'm keeping it looking good. I have a little extra money, I can go do some other stuff to kind of create more value in this asset. But I just think it plays in so many ways for everybody's mind, all the buyers, all the buyer minds. So very cool. So with the franchisees, tell me a little bit about. I know you said there's obviously sort of this step-by-step process and training and certification. Or I don't know if there's an official, you call it that, a certification, but clearly you have to be certified in a sense when you go through the full training and onboarding of the franchise. But tell me a little bit about that journey, that first year. What is it like to be a franchisee, and how are you helping them get going? What are the priorities you look at? And let's talk about marketing too, a little bit in that. What is your sort of priority to get them off the ground?
Yeah, so this is one thing where I'll say, like, I'm going to be kind of transparent. I don't know how to be a franchisor, right? Like, I'm new to this, and I'm getting good coaching out there. What I know how to do, and this has been a lot through my business experience and growing up in my family's business, is I know how to run a small home service business. That's what I know how to run. And what I'm really passionate about is helping other people do the same thing. And so for us, it just looks like that commitment. And so I think myself and my partners are careful not to over award or oversell, because we want to make sure that our franchisees and the areas in which we're opening are going to be properly served. Going back to that kind of neighbor thing, like, our neighbor has gone outside of my neighborhood and it's going to across the country to hundreds and maybe even thousands of neighborhoods. And so we think like that first. And so for us, that looks like just a lot of attention poured all over our franchisees and making sure they're ready to support them, themselves and their staff, their technicians. And so, I would call it more akin to business coaching, because that's a lot of what our day-to-day looks like, both from a technical side and an operational side. We have things that we do outside of like the normal training. Everybody comes to OKC and they get all the technical training, but we do weekly training calls that everybody can get on, and we just go through the material over and over and over again. Because we got a lot of new people. We're a new brand, so things do kind of are updating as we grow across the nation and get introduced to new communities. And so it's I don't stop training just because somebody's been with us a year. It's like, just jump on the training calls. I have them. Get on them, get educated, refresh, relearn, and then we do a mastermind call every single Wednesday morning at 6:30 Central. Myself and our leadership team hop on a mastermind call. And this is really where, with the managers and the owners, we first talk about leaderboard. So we're going over, what are the numbers? How are we doing? What was our total invoiced? What was our average ticket? Let's share those numbers. Let's share success. Who's got a project that they're proud of that they want to talk about how they got that done? Who's got a project they're struggling with? And we can use the hive mind, the mastermind, to help answer that question, whether it be project specific or sales specific, because that's what excited me about franchising. Going back to, I've got franchisees that I could have never afforded to hire as to be managers. I think about our guy in Nashville, or our new franchise. Like, these people I could have never hired him to be my manager to open up a Nashville location if I was doing it corporate. But I can attract, through franchising, amazing corporate talent that brings so much to our organization, and then we get all these people on a call on a Wednesday morning, and it just the growth and the development that happens there is really amazing. And as we continue to add new franchisees, you can tell I get a little excited about it, because I'm just like, what an amazing talent pool that corporate America, I think, really misses the boat on these people they're treating badly, and they're looking for other opportunities outside of the JOB. They're coming into franchises and bringing so much experience and knowledge that and I think that's what ultimately helps franchise brands, franchisors grow to the next level, because they just have gotten this amazing pool of talent.
Totally agree. Yeah, no, and I think that it's actually, you really tapped into something I haven't really thought of. I mean, I think about it. I just don't think about it the way you just said it. But you're right. I mean, most people in a position to own a franchise have established track records. They have financial stability as well. They have to have certain resources. Now, every franchise is different, but you still have to have some resources.
Yeah.
And so, but you're pulling from folks that have been, they've got the skills and knowledge, but they don't have the play box. They don't have the sandbox, the framework to be creative or to be in control of the outcome. And I think most stress comes from, in the corporate world, my experiences were, it was more about the lack of control over what you were really doing. I mean, you could have a project, so it's really important, and next thing you know, it's not important anymore. It's like gone or something. Like, it's like, why am I getting up every day? I think that's what these folks want, and they tend to be in their 40s, 50s, or beyond sometimes. And they're like, okay, I want to go make a difference and make an impact. But you get to touch all the disciplines you just mentioned. I mean, you get to touch recruiting, you get to touch development, you get to touch technology, operations, marketing, sales, any skill sets that you like to get within. And also, with most brands, the sky's the limit. I mean, just to some degree, you could have multiple locations and scale your numbers, as you say, go a mile deep and an inch wide. But yeah, you're right. You're going to attract great people, and that is a unique opportunity for you, the franchisor that has the vision to take this further. So let me understand this a little bit from a marketing point of view, because as I've said with many home services companies that I interview on a regular basis, or a lot of the retail or restaurant brands too, in that the marketing will talk for an hour about the product, and that's the marketing because it's such a great product. And really, that kind of is, and like the neighborly model. You think of neighborly, you said neighbors, but
Yeah.
that's true. I mean, people talk about that kind of thing, and it's, oh, this is great. It feels good. It just, as you said, it's efficient. It protects the house. It's good for the environment. It's, hey, we feel like we did a good thing, and we didn't, done quick. Um, so they're going to talk about that. So that's word of mouth. Tell me a little bit about some of the early thinking. I know with the masterminds. And by the way, I always say this: franchising's a different man. You got to come up with a better name, because mastermind is what it is, but then it's everybody in the mastermind doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's also pretty awesome when you have
Yeah.
a collective of people executing in a similar way versus different business owners, which most masterminds you pay dearly to be in. And it's different guys that might be like you, but in different industries. And so I think there's something to be
Mhm.
said. And there's not a lot of places where you get that dynamic. So good that you're actually fostering it to the maximum by having meetings and interacting the way you structured those meetings, I think is fantastic. But tell me about, in those meetings and elsewhere, just in your early stages here of growth, marketing wise, it seems to me like you have to do a little education marketing, right? You got to push out the knowledge. You got to let people know that, hey, this is a possibility. Do you
Yeah.
guys, what are you finding? I mean, so word of mouth would be tremendous. Is there any other vehicles that you found that is effective? Is Google helping with any kind of keyword or intent traffic? Or tell me, like, how do you
Yeah.
approach it? Because I gotta believe awareness is part of it, because people aren't
Yeah.
aware. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell our franchisees all the time, like, hey, listen, we're a service that's just going to make sense. However, we got to get in front of them because they don't know to look for us yet.
yeah,
It's like, you got to get out there and we got to talk about it. And so the first thing is there's the ground game, and this is regardless of what time of home service business you're in. You got to have beautifully wrapped vehicles that are going to uh, align. Your branding is going to align with your ideal client, our ideal neighbor. You got to get yard signs. You got to do door hangers. You got to get involved in a B&I. Like, you got to boots on the ground. You got to get that stuff done. I can't do it for you. They got to go out there and they got to get in their market and get serious. That's one thing that we talk about.
yeah,
The stuff that then we give them support on and we kind of help them out with is SEO. I don't view website development, and this is something that my website team has worked on. We don't view website development as set it and forget it. Websites are maintenance. They are something that you constantly nurture and you constantly build on and you constantly learn from. And so our web strategy is massive, and it's really focused on SEO, organic search engine optimization, through blogs and through other types of things on page, all the stuff that goes into that. And so we're
yeah.
big fans. We're big fans of that. And the next thing that you've got to do is for us, search, like paid search is going to be, we don't do that a lot. Where we really shine is when someone can see a before and after image. That's when we're going to, like, really, really pop, is when they see something, a rotting door, and they've got a rotting door, and they see that and they go, ooh, and they fix it. They call us. They fill out the form online. And so for us, that looks like a lot of Facebook and Instagram. Once again, our ideal neighbor being over 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old homeowners that are looking for an alternative, that may have recently got a quote from a window replacement company that is tens of thousands of dollars. They're scrolling through, looking at pictures of the grandkids, and then what do they see? They see a beautiful before and after, that's going to save them money. We get
I
that
was going to
call.
say, Facebook hates well, everybody kind of frowns on the weight loss niche and the
Yeah,
supplement. And they're, the point, they're very picky about before and afters, and legit, not misleading, which I totally agree with, but makes it hard when you're a legit marketer and you're helping
yeah,
certain things. But it is the most impactful before and after. So I'm sure no one cares when it's home improvement, and that's
yeah.
perfect. Show it all you want. but it
Yeah.
works real. And I can see that you, again, back to that easily identifiable market. So you have that opportunity. So you've got a few things going. You've got intent around certain problem. I call them symptoms that you're they don't know that you exist, but and your method exists, but they got the problem. So you can use Google for that. You've got partners, right? Anybody in home services, would be happy to talk about you because you're unique and add to, right? You're complementary. Then you've got Facebook that allows you to zero in on demographics and zero in on people and people that fit that, have homes that care about their home, at a certain level, would care more for whatever reasons you deem. And so you have all these ways, but the biggest way is to go get that first client and go and let everybody nearby know. And next thing you have a second client and a third. And so it's just an engine of just getting that next client. It just every client is worth 5 clients kind of thing, sort of idea. But anyway, I love that because everything I rattled off, I got from this short conversation. And if I were anyone looking at a business model, that's what I look for. As a sales and marketing guy, and the guy that always has grown up that way and was asked to work for big companies and hit numbers and do things, there's certain things that need to be there. And one of the hard things with sales and marketing would be when you don't have an easily identifiable market. It's hard to know, how do I find them and know they're at the right time and place for what I'm doing. And that's not always easy. So anyway, for you, you were already in the business. So
I'll share another one. But
if you could have invented one,
I'll share another one that has been
it was perfect.
Really next level for us, and that has been influencers. And so in the home service space, there are a lot of small, medium, and large size influencers that are out there fixing their house. A lot of times it's a husband and wife team. They're fixing their house, and they could have 5,000 followers in a specific market. They could have 10,000, 30,000, 100,000 followers. And so that's been another one that we've really partnered up with influencers in the home repair space. And the reason I wanted to share it is we have a nice little Instagram. It's decent. We got ourselves over almost 1,200 followers. And our reels will get 1,200, maybe 1,200 views, maybe 500 views. I don't understand how it works, but they go up and down. But we worked with an influencer who has 142,000 followers on Instagram. And we actually worked on her house. It was in our Tulsa market. We worked on her house. We put this collaboration together, and 30,000 people have seen that reel. 30,000 views, hundreds of comments. Let me tell you, it does awesome things. Of course, it creates interest in the franchise, but it creates interest in the local market. So there are people across all of our different locations that are seeing this. And so I think influencer stuff right now is another really great thing. And that's something that we really focus in on, is trying to develop relationships with influencers, especially if they're in our market where we can go actually do a repair and document the repair in their area. Such a cool way to get your name out there.
I can't. Yeah, I've been hearing that, and I've been watching it now for.
Well, you are one. That's why I'm on here, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. like the podcasting model. I've done this since 2019, and even that's, but the idea that you can find influencers in niches that have impact, that have credibility, that are not necessarily the household name influencers that you think of, right? These are just millions of people that have, what do they call it? The creator economy, right?
Yeah.
I think there's known to be 400,000 creators in the economy right now in the US that make their living tax designation wise as a creator. So, that's, people making a few bucks to making decent, really 7-figure kind of money. But like you said, it could be a guy with 50,000 followers. It just helps people fix things. And he's just one of these great YouTubers. Like, how would I fix anything without YouTube? I wish I had YouTube in the 80s and 90s when I was first learning to be handy, do anything really. So anyway, but these same people that you're learning from are influencers in many cases. Not all of them. Some of them don't have as much momentum, but some of them really do because they put out great content and they're very helpful. So there you go, another great pool of people to interact with and partner with. And you have such a perfect message for it. Again, it's about, do you have a message that would resonate and get people excited to talk about it? And I don't know anybody who wouldn't. If it's, if you're in the home service or anything to do with beautification, really, you could be any influencer and kind of talk about your house and your environment, so it's kind of neat that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So loaded with marketing channels, loaded with ideas for your franchisees to execute on. So, before I let you go, I appreciate the passion behind all this, because that's why it's here today. That's why it's an opportunity for anyone listening. Come on, you wouldn't have this opportunity if it wasn't for trying to hit a deadline. So they're working really hard. Oh, by the way, I might say, you said earlier about, you're new to franchising and all that. I would say, in listening to you, you've done all the things I would hope to tell anyone getting into this space, like you were doing it. You were building the operations manuals. You were building the training programs. You already knew and understood the product quite well and why it was impactful. Really, really did do all the homework and put it together. So it's a beautiful model. And
I give credit to two things primarily. One is a friend, and one is just a great author. The E-Myth was game changing for me. It really just transformed the way I thought about my business. And a lot of the process was kind of following that pattern of E-Myth. It was the first thing where I first got introduced to the idea of franchising, so build your business like it's a franchise. That was that first moment that I sparked, and I was like, oh, franchising, I need to learn more about that. The second, and now has become a great friend, I would call him a mentor, is going to be Charles Internicola at Internicola Law. Of course, his videos were some of that mass amounts of content that I consumed on those long drives back and forth to Fort Riley. But helping me understand, like through his videos at first, just item 19 and what should be in an item 19 and when is your business ready to franchise and what should your business when you franchise do, and kind of really that passion behind, I think, serving your franchisee and really understanding what that looks like. And then the ongoing support that he's given us as now our franchise attorney. So those two things have been critical in our development. And so if you say like, oh, it sounds like, it's just been a lot of education and a lot of it coming from those two places.
Yeah, I appreciate. I was going to ask you if you had any advice for somebody that might be in that, and I think you just gave them a couple great tips to look into. And it's funny, the E-Myth talks about, like build your business like a franchise. Now I want to stop right there, right, with that sentence. Build your business like a franchise. So it's already putting franchising in another category.
Yeah.
To be like that. Oh, yeah, exactly. That's the point. That's why it works so amazing well. Because you're taking the time to document everything, thinking it through as if someone else is going to come in with limited experience, maybe not business experience or wherewithal, but limited experience in that specific model. And it's so well defined and so efficient that you've made it worth investing in. That is when you polish a business model like a diamond. And you're just that way. I could hear and listening to you when you ran your construction business, the way you ran businesses. You're like that. I met a lot of local business owners like that, where they run a great business. It's well documented. They train their people well. They care about hiring. It's a lot of work for them too. You know what I mean? But they do a great job. They care about that. And they could make that leap over into franchising. What advice would you have? Because I'm telling you guys make a huge difference in this world. And I think franchising needs to keep going. It needs to be that option for many, 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 many people as things change in the economy, and as they always do. This opportunity for a lot of individuals is that opportunity to do something meaningful. Retirement, I think, is an old concept. I think certainly you don't want to do something you don't maybe want to do forever. So you want to have an end to it maybe, and you put your time in. I get all that. But I mean, you want to keep giving back, and franchising is such an amazing way. And you just created another brand and another option and another great community around it, and helping the end user, helping the people in your communities. Tell me, what advice would you have to the guy that has something like you, Tell me, what advice?
What advice would I give to the guy that has something like me? Yeah.
Yeah, or not like you, but just to have a cool product that they know helps people around them, but they're maybe hesitant to become a national brand or a franchise.
Yeah, I would tell them, one, I would tell them to read the E-Myth. That would be the first thing I would tell them to do. I would tell them to go to, I don't, entrepreneurs kick ass, I think is Internacola's hashtag. So go there and just get informed about what a great emerging and startup franchise has to look like. What are the pieces to growing that, to set realistic expectations, from developing your model to launching it as a franchise, and the seasoning period to then hitting those marks and then turning it into growth. So I would tell them to do that. I would tell them to focus on the advice I gave earlier, be an inch wide and a mile deep. That was another just like game-changing statement. I don't remember where I heard it from, but somebody said it and it was a light bulb moment for me. And because I think that a lot of really great business owners, a lot of ones I talk to, they get so used to wanting to be everything to everyone because they're amazing people who really want to help. And so regardless of what they're doing, if it's a restaurant, if it's a store, a brick and mortar, or if it's a home service business, they want to just help people, so they do everything. And that's really cool and it's very noble, but at the same time, you're not going to build a great business long term, because you're going to get spread too thin and you're going to turn out being a mile wide and an inch deep, which is not great. And so to really focus in on those things where you create game-changing value for your end user, whether that's game-changing value for a house or food or whatever it is, like just like focusing on that thing and become a master. I just remember sitting in a chicken joint and looking at a menu and going, there's only 3 things on this menu. You know what I love about that? I know what I'm getting. They must be good at it if this is all they're going to do. It's their only thing. I can't order anything else, and their waste is low. So it's sustainable. It's efficient. And I'm like, well, what does that look like in home service? What does that look like? So be an inch wide, a mile deep, read the E-Myth, entrepreneurs kick ass. That's my advice for somebody who's wanting, and do something that matters. Do something that makes a positive impact on your community. Whether that's save people money, help them solve a problem they can't get solved, help the planet, all that stuff. Do work that matters.
I feel like franchising is that. Like we all need, but I love the community parts. It's about local people working together, with each business owners working together, helping other organizations, whether it be schools, churches, whatever, nonprofits, sports teams. There's all kinds of connections to be made in franchising, but no higher honor than feeling like you built something that builds those connections and those relationships. And that's what I meant earlier, that people need guys like you. Because if guys like you didn't do what you do, then no one would have the opportunity to come in and be part of it. So it takes the franchisor, the initial guy, sometimes to say, yeah, I'm going to take this further. Sometimes they're just like, I'm good being right here, but no one else would have that opportunity to be a part of it. So I think that's pretty awesome. You're sharing your ideas about how to beautify homes that didn't exist maybe 5-10 years ago, not at least in, broader sense,
Right.
And so, but real good stuff. I appreciate you, man. I do appreciate the work you do. Can you share with the audience how to get to your website, and if they're more interested in learning about the brand in any way?
Yeah. So I'll start with this, preservan.com. Pretty simple. If you want to learn about our service or our locations we currently have, you live in one of the markets, you need some help with wood rot, go there. If you want to learn about the opportunity as far as opening up in your local area, serving your local community and neighbors, click the button that says franchise. If you want to connect with me, I'm out there. I like meeting people. I'm just excited about people thinking about entrepreneurship. I told somebody the other day, I'm just along the ride here with you on your journey. If at any point in time you want to get off and get on somebody else's train for entrepreneurship, that's totally fine with me. I just want to do my part while we're together. But so I'm super excited. So if you ever have any questions, whether it's about franchising your business, and I will make no money, but I'd be happy to give you my 2 cents, or you want to learn about Preservan as an opportunity or service, the best place to find me is on LinkedIn. On about everything, I'm at Ty McBride. So my name is, I think, easy enough and also unique enough that you typically can just Google me, and I'll come up somewhere.
All right. I love that. And I always say when you guys offer that, not everybody is as generous, but a lot of them do what you just did. And everything you share is some of the best advice. And I'm reminding myself of it from my own business right now. Like the inch wide and mile deep. I'm like, it just always resonates. It always resonates. In this world of constant distraction, right?
Yeah,
I got to do
right.
5 things. I got to do 30 things. No, it's about the one thing, as Gary Keller said, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of similar principles swirling that wisdom. But
Yeah.
anyway, hey, 5 minutes with you on the phone, I'm sure would be a benefit. I would take him up on it, guys. Anyway, I appreciate you, Ty, and I hope to have you back again real soon.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.